Our first keynote speaker for the morning is Brigadier General Ronald Carey. General Carey is an emeritus marketing professor of Our Lady of the Lake University and has a BS in Commerce and Finance and a PhD in marketing. He was twice named to the Federal Computer Week's Top 100 of Industry and Federal Managers in System Procurement, Washington, D.C. General Starr has spoken at several events, including 2 times at Arlington Cemetery for World War II veterans who were brought by the Alamo Honor Flight. Ladies and gentlemen, General Ronald Carey.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning, troops. A great day at SAS. Isn't it what wonderful things they've done for you to put this all together, to have the kind of ceremony that all of you deserve, all of you have earned, and we're so proud to be a part of. It's always fun to be here among people that are very close to me in age, because many of you, especially those up in the front row, the one thing you look forward to every week is the Lawrence Welk reruns. It's always a highlight, right? See, I knew I was, yeah. By the way, you always, when you give a talk, you always look for a nodder. That somebody's going to agree. I appreciate that, sir. And when I'm in trouble, I'll be looking, I'll be looking your way. It's good for you to take care of it. You also remember what it was that we always used to eat when we were in, and that was this very special product. How did we ever get by without this? And see, this is what I don't understand. This is what they've got now. Spam Light. What? We don't want Spam Light. So I bought this, I emptied it, and I threw it out. But have you noticed now the covers are different? See, they've got now the pull tab. Now, you remember when we had to do it, it had the key on the bottom, and it had that ribbon around, and you had to turn it. And not every can of Spam had a key. Did it? So you had to, because they were saving on steel, so you had to unwind it. That was my job in World War II. I was 4 years old, and I unwound, and you could not unwind it without cutting yourself. It was impossible, was it? So you always you could tell the kids that came to school the next day with Band-Aids, because they'd undone the Spam the night before. So we have this as our own special memory, and then, of course, we always had not just the dog tags, this. Oh, the memories. It's called a P-38. Now, we don't know how the P started, but allegedly, you see, this opens up so that you can open up the can. And supposedly, it took 38 times around. See, because it wouldn't spin right around. It took 38 times in order to get it to do what it was supposed to do. So we love our Spam, didn't we? It's a whole new army from what you were used to. We don't have mess halls anymore. Now we have dining facilities. And we have a dining facility manager. When did we start managing in the military? I don't understand that. And of course, we can't have barracks. No. Got to have dormitories. You know what's next? Suites. Just a matter of time until we see all of these changes take effect. I began my Army career when I was 18, and I was enlisted. I had 6 years of enlisted time. And in that time, I made PFC 3 times. And in those days, you could just bust a troop. You could just do it. You didn't have to have a cause. I still have the fatigue shirt that's got a little hole there where the first sergeant just went, rip, and it was done. It was over. And I realized I wasn't going anywhere, and so I looked to see who it was in the military that was making progress. And those were the people who had a commission. I said, that's the way to go. So I stand before you as proof of something you've always known. And that is that in the military, it's a whole lot easier to make general than it is corporal. But it hasn't all been roses. I married a Navy woman. Now, when you marry a sailor, she's in blue, of course, over there in the front row. When you marry a sailor, things are different. You know, when we would go off, when we were deployed, if you were in the Army or the Marines, then you got in a truck and you drove off and you were gone. If you were in the Air Force, you got in a plane and you were gone. But if you were Coast Guard or you were Navy and you deployed, you would be on board a ship. You off would be at the pier. Now you picture the scene. Sandy's on the ship. I'm on the pier, along with 400 women. All waving goodbye. Now the trouble with the goodbye is that you don't know when for sure they've left. You see, because first off, they get on board, they don't leave right away, at least 20 minutes. Well, then they have to unrope, or whatever they call it. And they have to lift that heavy metal thing that's in the bottom. I don't know whatever that is. But anyway, so then they head off. Well, they don't go very fast. They can't go fast. They're liable to run aground or hit something. So, you see, you're there for an hour. Now, when do you stop waving? See? And they don't give you briefings on this. You just stand there, and so eventually your arm gets tired. But then the key thing is, who's the first one to leave? And you knew that there was a code there of some kind. And I didn't know what it was, but I knew that unless I left first, then they would all the women would say, we get him still here while I'm, okay. So I left. And there's really only one way to do it. I turned to the women closest to me and said, I don't know about you, but I've got to go do some lemon waxing. You don't believe I said that, do you, Sergeant? I got an inverse nodder here. Every time I tell something, he's not buying it. No. The other thing is ribbons. Sandy was in Desert Storm. And the policy for ribbons then was a little more liberal than it was. I was in Vietnam, and so she has more than I do. But you know, now it doesn't matter. Now the Supreme Court has said, you can wear anything you want to. You don't have to have earned it. Not only can you wear it, you can put it on your resume. Which means, I guess, that you can also do that with rank. And I'm thinking there's a possibility here because Sandy and I were visiting a base, a military base, and you had to have the sticker out there in front, the pass card. So we went to the base and we got registered the vehicle and we got the little thing to put on the dashboard. Well, I knew at this base that if you were a general or an admiral that they would put stars on it. And this was a temporary worker who didn't know that that was what the rule was. So I said, what about the star that's supposed to go on there? And she said, how many do you want? I said, I mean, what the heck? It was not an Army base, and who would know the difference? But now, you see, you can do it. You can be whatever you want. We always had an interesting rule, and I think the rule is still in effect, that if you're in a dress uniform like this, then you cannot use an umbrella. If you're Army or if you're Marines. Is that still true? In this uniform, you can use an umbrella now. Okay, well, when I was doing what we were doing, we couldn't. The other services made sense. But the reason that the Army didn't allow an umbrella is because the Marines didn't. And by George, if they're going to get pneumonia, so are we. Walter Reed's a big place. We can all end up there. So we couldn't do it. All right, so one time we were in Washington, and we were getting ready to go to a formal affair. She's in her formal uniform. She's a captain, Navy captain. And so she had the umbrella, because the rain was expected, and I was dressed like this. The rain came. She opened her umbrella. She got under the umbrella. I, by rule, had to step aside into the rain. This couple walked by, and the woman, the guy, wasn't that a general? Yeah, I think it was. Wouldn't you think he'd know enough to get out of the rain? We've all had great things happen to us when we've been involved in the service. One of mine was, it was with Aerial Resupply Company, which means that you drop the equipment down to the troops in a place that you can't land. And so we had a rough terrain forklift has tires this big, and it looks like a forklift, just a really big one, which we need outside because we're working in the mud, other conditions. So that's what we were going to drop, and of course the Air Force does the dropping for us. It was in a C-130, and I went along because I'm signed for this rough terrain forklift as well as the other stuff. We got to the appropriate place, and the pilot and the crew chief are in charge. The Army people riding along have nothing to do with it. So they pushed it out. So about 6 hours later, after we landed, the sergeant in charge called me. And she said, "Where's the forklift?" And I said, "You don't have the forklift?" She was at the drop zone. "No, it's not here." So I called the Air Force and said, "Where's the forklift?" And the guy at the other line was hesitating, and he said, "I'll get back to you." A week later, he called. He said, "We've got it narrowed down. Your forklift is somewhere in North Carolina." So the Army's got a lot of people at Fort Bragg, and they've got helicopters. So I said, "Look, when you guys are out there, would you look for a forklift?" So a week later, I got a phone call. The guy said, "We found it. It's out on this farm." So the next weekend, I drove out, and there he was. There was a farmer pulling that forklift along. I said, "Hi." Told him what my name was, and I said, "Can you tell me the story of this?" Because, it could have gotten somebody else. You could have bought it from somebody. Who knew? I didn't know how he got it. So he said, things have been tough. The tobacco market is down. I almost lost my house. The bank took my tractor. So one day, I went out in the field. I got down on my knees, and I said, "Dear Lord, I need a tractor." And sure enough, the sky blackened. That would have been the parachute. And there it dropped. And I said, no, see, you notice up in front, it's olive drab, and there's a white star, and it says U.S. Army. And the guy said, "Hey, I don't ask God where he gets his stuff." I need the script, please. No, script, sorry. It's probably in here. No, it's... Yep. In World War II, World War I, there was some severe fighting going on in the area of Belgium, and it was by Flanders Fields. A medical doctor was there, John McCrae, Canadian, who was having a difficult time with the medical parts of it because there wasn't adequate medicine, and people were terribly wounded, and it was very difficult for him to do what it was he had to do. At the same time that he saw these soldiers dying, he noticed that there were poppies that were growing. The poppies are the small red flowers. And you see veterans sell these around Memorial Day. This is what the poppies look like. When the wind was there, then the wind would blow, and so they would move. In addition, there were birds, larks mostly, that were still flying and still singing. And he was struck by the juxtaposition of the death and the misery of the troops and the continuing of a natural life that was around them. And this is what he wrote. In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep in Flanders fields. You veterans are the ones that caught the torch that was thrown. You protected our rights. You preserved our freedoms. And because of you, those thousands of troops, under that equal number of crosses, can sleep. Nancy, is Nancy here? I need, there she is. Get over here, Nancy. Nancy is the Chief Executive Officer of SAS and the one responsible for putting this all together. I know she'll deny it, but anyway, she's in charge. Now, what we need to do is to show appreciation in some way for everything that's happened so far and what is going to happen yet. So we all got together and chipped in. You remember? Yeah, okay, you remember, right, you all chipped in. And we wanted to give us, anybody can get a plaque. Anybody can get a cup. But it takes a very special person to get the right kind of gift from the military. Her very own meal ready to eat. Hey, there we go. No, let's stand. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all very much.
General Carey, if you'll bear with me just a second, I'd like for your wife to come up and join you. I want to share this with you. Look at how beautiful they are. President Harry Truman once said that every successful man marries above himself. What do you think? Thank you so much. Thank you, General Carey.